My name is Emily, and I am a second-year student at a big university. I want to share my story with you, a story about trust, love, friendship, and learning things about people that I never expected to discover. It all began at the start of the semester. I had just finished my first year and was feeling both excited and nervous about starting my second year. I had many hopes and dreams for this year. I wanted to do better in my studies, make new friends, and maybe even find someone special to spend time with. One of the first days of the new semester, I was sitting in the library, trying to get some work done. I always found it easier to study in the quiet, calm atmosphere of the library. I was sitting at a table by the window with my textbooks spread out in front of me. I had my headphones in, but I wasn't really listening to music. I was just trying to focus on my work. Then I noticed him. He was sitting at a table across the room from me. He had dark curly hair and a focused look on his face. He seemed to be studying hard, but there was something about him that caught my attention. He looked different from everyone else. Most of the students around me were either talking to friends or distracted by their phones. But this guy was completely absorbed in his work. At first, I didn't think much of it. I went back to my notes, trying to ignore the distractions around me. But after a while, I realized he was looking at me. When our eyes met, he smiled briefly and then quickly turned his attention back to his books. I wasn't sure why, but the smile made me feel a little nervous. It was strange, but also kind of nice. Over the next few days, I saw him again. He was always in the library, sitting in the same spot, working on his assignments. It became a routine. I would go to the library in the afternoons, and he would be there, just doing his thing. Sometimes I would see him studying with friends, but more often he was alone. One day, after several days of this strange routine, I finally decided to talk to him. I wasn't sure what came over me, but something told me I should at least introduce myself. So, I walked over to his table and said, "Hey, I've seen you here a lot lately. I'm Emily, a psychology student. What are you studying?" He looked up, clearly surprised, but then smiled warmly. "Hi, Emily, I'm James. I'm studying business management." We shook hands, and I sat down across from him. We began talking, and the conversation flowed easily. He told me about his major, his interest in business, and his life back home. I told him about my psychology classes, my love for reading, and how I was adjusting to university life. From that day on, we started talking more regularly. We would run into each other on campus and chat between classes. James was different from anyone I had ever met. He was funny, kind, and intelligent, but there was something about him that seemed distant, like he was holding back. As the weeks went by, James and I became friends. We started sitting together in the library, studying for our exams, and even having lunch together between classes. I started to enjoy his company more and more. He made me laugh, and we shared a lot of common interests. He was passionate about business, and I was passionate about psychology. But we found ways to talk about our subjects and interests. We even began studying together, helping each other with our assignments. James was easy to talk to, and I found myself opening up to him in ways I hadn't with anyone before. I told him about my struggles with balancing school and life, my fears of not being good enough, and the pressure I often felt as a student. He listened to me patiently, and never judged me. He was always encouraging, reminding me that everyone has their struggles and that I was doing my best. One evening, after a long study session at the library, James invited me to grab coffee with him at a cafe on campus. I agreed because I loved the idea of spending more time with him. As we sat down with our cups of coffee, I noticed that he seemed a little nervous. He was fidgeting with his cup and not looking at me as much as usual. "Emily," he started, his voice quieter than usual. "There's something I need to tell you. I've been meaning to say this for a while, but I didn't know how." I felt a sense of curiosity and anxiety growing inside me. "What is it?" I asked, a little concerned. James took a deep breath and looked me in the eyes. "I think I'm starting to like you more than just as a friend. I've enjoyed getting to know you, and I can't help but feel that there's something more here. But I understand if you don't feel the same way." My heart skipped a beat. I didn't know what to say at first. I had been feeling the same way, but I wasn't sure if I was ready for a relationship. "James, I think I like you too," I admitted softly. We both smiled, a little nervous but happy. It felt good to finally be honest about our feelings. We continued talking that night, and it felt like our friendship had shifted into something deeper. For the next few weeks, we spent even more time together. We went on dates, watched movies, and studied together. Everything felt so right, but as time passed, I began to notice little things about James that didn't quite add up. He would sometimes disappear for hours, not answering his phone or messages. He seemed distant when we were in group settings, and there were moments when I felt like I didn't really know him at all. One day, I decided to ask him about it. We were walking to class, and I said, "James, I've noticed that you've been distant lately. Is something wrong? I don't want to pressure you, but I just want to make sure everything's okay." James stopped walking for a moment, and I could see the worry in his eyes. "Emily, there's something I haven't told you, something I've been hiding for a long time," he said, his voice trembling. My heart raced, and I immediately felt a sense of dread. "What is it?" I asked. James took a deep breath and looked down. "I'm not just a student here. I've been dealing with some personal issues that I've been running away from." James went on to explain that he wasn't just studying business management. He had been avoiding responsibilities back home and had things in his past that he hadn't been honest about. He was afraid to tell me because he didn't want me to see him differently. I was silent for a moment, trying to process what he was saying. "What do you mean, James?" I asked softly. "What are you running from?" James looked down, his expression full of regret. "I've made mistakes, Emily. Big ones. I've hurt people, and I've been running away from it all. I came here to escape, to start fresh, but I can't keep pretending anymore." I felt my heart break in that moment. Everything I thought I knew about him suddenly felt like a lie. The man I had trusted, the one I had opened up to, was hiding something so deep and painful. I didn't know what to say, so I just listened as he explained the situation. It was hard to process, but I knew I had to make a decision. I had to decide whether I could continue to trust James, even with all the secrets he had kept from me. In the end, I realized that trust was something I couldn't take for granted. I had to take a step back and think about what was best for me. I told James that I needed some time to figure things out. He agreed, understanding my need for space. The days that followed were difficult. I spent a lot of time reflecting on everything that had happened. I realized that while James was a good person at heart, the lies and secrets had caused too much pain for me to ignore. Eventually, I decided to end things with James. It was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made, but I knew it was the right choice for me. I needed to focus on my studies, my future, and most importantly, on myself. Though I was heartbroken, I learned a valuable lesson from the experience. Not everything in life goes as planned, and sometimes people are not what they seem. But I also learned that I am strong enough to move forward, to trust myself, and to never settle for anything less than the truth. I continued my studies, a little wiser and more cautious, but ready for whatever the future held. It wasn't easy, but I knew that sometimes the hardest lessons lead to the most important growth.